I'm Stepans and I study at Dixie Canyon. And my state report is about Minnesota. Minnesota is a mid-eastern U.S. bordering Canada and Lake Superior. The Minnesota flag design features a modified version of the seals of America on a blue field, which I think means it's on water. Oh, and fun fact, did you know Shoei's Lady Slippers is the Minnesota state flower? Since 1925, the state has regulated the collection and commercial sales of this species. The common loon is the Minnesota state bird. The loon became the state bird in 1961. The Minnesota state motto is El Tulio tu Nor, which was formally adopted in 1861. Henry Sibley selected this motto, and I bet you guys want to know what it means. It means Star of the North. This is the state map of Minnesota. Technically, geography. The major cities are Minneapolis, St. Paul, and Duluth. And now you can see the population of each of them. Some of you guys might know, but the capital of Minnesota is St. Paul. The resources of Minnesota are crops, which are cultivated there. Milk is the product that is the major of the source of farm income. Okay, now let's talk about the climate in Minnesota. The temperatures in the winter is cold below freezing temperature. Heavy snowfall occurs from November through April. In the southern parts of the state, in summer, heat and humidity predominate, while warm and less humid conditions are generally present in the north. The first inhabitants of Minnesota were Paleo Indians, as early back as 7,000 to 9,000 years ago. The first Europeans to arrive in Minnesota were the French explorers such as Pierre Radisson and Madère des Costières. First visited the region in the 1650s. The notable historical events that happened in Minnesota were in 1650, when Europeans visited and mapped portions of it. In 1763, the United States gained eastern Minnesota after winning the French and Indian War. In 1803, the United States buys western Minnesota from the French as part of the Louisiana Purchase. And the most important event during Minnesota state history happened in May 11, 1858. And that's when finally Minnesota became a state. Minnesota is known for its abundance of natural resources. Iron ore. Minnesota is one of the largest producers of iron ore in the United States. Timber. The state's forestry industry supports jobs in timber harvesting, processing, and manufacturing. Water. Minnesota has more than 10,000 lakes and is home to the headwaters of the Mississippi River. Agricultural land. Minnesota has rich, fertile soils, minerals. In addition to iron ore, Minnesota has deposits of other minerals such as copper, nickel, and precious metals. Agriculture is a major industry in Minnesota, with a wide range of crops and animals raised. From crops, it includes corn, soybeans, and wheat. Minnesota is a leading producer of dairy products. It is also rich with poultry, beef, and pork. Minnesota has a diverse manufacturing industry. Firstly, medical devices. Minnesota is known as the Medical Alley due to its concentration of medical device companies. Food processing. Minnesota is a major producer of food, including snacks and baked goods. Also, it is known as textile and printing manufacturing. As I mentioned about the capital of Minnesota is St. Paul, the governor of Minnesota since 2019 is Tim Walz, and he represents the Democratic Party. Let's talk about the universities in Minnesota. The first one is University of Minnesota, which was established in 1851. And another very old university is University of St. Thomas, established in 1885. One of well-known museums in Minnesota is the Science Museum. Let's take a little tour there. Another museum that took my attention is Walker Art Center. Let's look what is inside and outside this museum.
Minneapolis Sculpture Garden is one of the most visited and influential sculpture parks in the country. A unique public-private partnership between the Walker Arts Center and the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board, the garden draws approximately 500,000 people annually. Visitors from the Twin Cities and around the globe come to the garden to enjoy this world-class urban art sanctuary. The art is the heart of the garden, and like anything well-loved, it requires regular care and attention. Minnesota's fluctuating weather and harsh winters take their toll on these outdoor sculptures. Conservation of the more than 60 artworks is sustained entirely by the Garden Fund.
Wow, I'm so impressed. I actually wish I could visit them both. Now, let's hear part of the Minnesota Orchestra performance. If you are attentive, you'll also notice the Minnesota Vikings. That Minnesota has a North Central American English dialect. Minnesota is famous for several dishes, such as Swedish meatballs, cheese curds, and pho. The contemporary famous people in Minnesota are Chris Pratt, a Hollywood actor known from the Guardians of the Galaxy, and Jessica Biel, also famous American actress. St. Paul Cathedral, Catholic Cathedral, built in 1906. Minnesota State Capitol is the seat of the government of the state. It was built in 1905. Minnesota Vikings, founded in 1960, are a professional American football team based in Minneapolis. They compete in the National Football League as a member club of National Football Conference, the North Division.
Off the 40, he's got 9 yards. Cousins over the middle, caught by Jefferson. Another first
down at 4, fake to Montgomery. Peterman firing downfield. They're down in 6. Pressure on Peterman. Down he goes.
Doesn't shy away from contact.
Second down and 7. Play fake to Cook. Pass caught by the fullback. On first down, play action again.
Now, as I finish my presentation about Minnesota, let me give you reasons why you should visit. Firstly, about all the famous landmarks. From national parks, I would like to mention International Wall Center, Carmel Park, Zoo, and Duluth aerial lift bridge. The places that mostly attract tourists are Great Lakes, Aquarium, Nickelodeon Universe, and the Munsinger Gardens. Also, last but not least, Gooseberry Falls. I'm sure you like Minnesota and that you're eager to visit it. Thank you for your attention.